watched in NA East with that head-to-head moment at the very end for first place, I am so excited just to see that moment happen here in West.
Yeah, and as the analyst desk was able to show, we've had 5 teams who are able to really separate themselves towards the top. But as we noted, we're only 50% of the way through the competition. So it's Fortnite. Absolutely anything can happen, and there definitely seems to be a little bit of change to the winds. Potentially some teams trying to adapt their strategy going into day 2, because frankly, we saw a lot of what teams are trying to game plan on day 1 just didn't really come to fruition, and I would expect players to change it up. The definition of an insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Well, you got 6 matches today. They want to see some different results.
And we saw that last season with Arkham Epic Whale and Rex. They weren't in that lead. They were kind of a little bit behind. And then all of a sudden, day number 2, they came out of nowhere. They said, wait a minute. Y'all thought we were going to let y'all win that? No. And so they came back just with a vengeance. And I expect to see them do it again. I mean, they're in 3rd place right now, so I don't think they're happy with that by any means.
I mean, for them, it's first or nothing. They're the literal adage, if you're not first, you're last. They want to win everything. It doesn't matter if it's a cash cup, if it's a scrim, if it is a creator cup, FNCS, they want the W, so they're going to be putting it all on the line today. And we saw yesterday they had uncontested Sweaty. There seems to be a little rumor, a little birdie saying that might not be the case today, as Batman Booga, Sake, and Wale didn't necessarily get off to a great start yesterday. We saw throughout the entirety of the qualifiers, how did they make it there? They made it by grinding out and taking the fights at Sweaty, so I wouldn't be surprised if they did end up kind of sticking to that audible and going and trying to take those fights. But I'm also not necessarily sure if that's a huge plus or negative for Epic Whale, Arkham, and Rex, because they struggled for Storm Surge in a couple of those games, and we know they can fight.
And if they finish it off quickly, that'll be fine. But that has been a struggle for West. We see it a lot of East and EU. Those fights start and they're over. But West likes to draw these fights out. They really like to make these games go really long. And speaking of games, we're right into it here with aim number 7 coming through. The observer showing us a nice little llama over here by the Zayt Hill, and I'm just excited to see where these first contestants are going. And Sundown, Sweaty Sands, someone talked a big game, but eventually they left it uncontested.
They huffed and they puffed and they went somewhere else. But speaking of going somewhere else, we saw an adaptation late yesterday where 4DR Storm and his team said, nah, we're going back to the stacks. That's what we know best. Dylan, Quinn, and Juicy weren't ready for it, and it looks like you can see top right-hand side, we got that fight going down. But also over at the Dirty Docks, which was continually contested, we already had a knock. You can see that represented by the X, but we're going to swing on over to our current leaders. It's Extra Snacky, Kenshi, TSG, Faz landing over here at Risky Rios, which is just such a strong drop spot this season.
All the mechanical parts and all that metal that you're going to be able to have, just astronomically more here, I think, than anywhere else other than maybe compact cars over by Dirty Docks. And the priority on zone here is what makes it so valuable. And you talked about the 4DR moving over, and they continue that. That last game for them was so dominant. They completely eliminated Quinn, Juicy, and Dylan so fast. It was unheard of. We haven't seen it before.
Well, they've been conditioned to the fact that they were uncontested, right? Nobody else was here, so they're taking these really spread out drops. But when Steamy Stacks is traditionally contested, you'll either see this little bit of a north-south split between the 2 silos, or sometimes an east-west split, which is a little less desirable if one team's really able to kind of claim that coastline. There's significantly more loot over there. But right now you can see Dylan trying to get up on the high ground and pressure onto Adam right away. And I do want to note, I did end up predicting Quinn, Juicy, and Dylan. They were one of the teams who ended up coming through. They had a very poor performance yesterday, had a tough time kind of getting off spawn and getting into the matches. And I would just say, like we talked about in the pre-show, doing the same thing and sticking with it, definition of insanity, etc., all of that. I'm looking more so today to see what Riverson and Co end up doing in terms of my own personal prediction storylines. If Quinn and Co make themselves relevant, awesome. Do I expect that to be the case given what happened yesterday and the fact that in match number 6, they got absolutely shellacked over here at the stacks? I'm not sure they're coming in with a ton of confidence.
I think it's a little different now that they know they're going to be contested. They can playing around that, and Quinn definitely, I think, has set that up, knowing how smart he is and knowing the IGL role that he plays. Definitely can play around that, and any tags that they've got is already more going over than what they got yesterday. And this is, I actually like a lot. They're immediately disengaging. They know these houses have bunker chests. They know there's Slurp trucks over here as well. And I like this from them, because now if they can get ahead of everyone, they can hold this tree on